This is George Dionne of the Rock is George podcast, and this is a KNAC.com exclusive interview with frontman Robert Berry of the progressive rock act 6x6. If I knew absolutely nothing about 6x6, how would you describe the band's music to me?
We're a three-piece power rock / prog band. Something I think progressive fans enjoy. So far, it seems that way, but all the reviews have been great. Something that the hard rock fans can really get into. Plus, Ian Crichton, who's from the band Saga, as you know, is playing more guitar on this 6x6 band than he's ever played, and he's a genius guitar player. And we're a three-piece, so he's got to come up with good stuff, right? It's all on him. I don't know if that explains it, but that's the way I see it, kind of, and people seem to be enjoying that. All my previous stuff was keyboards, of course, with Keith Emerson. And my plan was to find a guitar player as great as Keith Emerson. And I think when you hear the music, you hear that.
I know that everybody involved in this project, from you to Ian to Nigel, has some sort of 6 degrees of separation and in history as far as musicianship. But how did 6x6 come together?
My manager, who's in UK, in England, Keith committed suicide in the middle of an album we were working on. That ran its course. I finished the album up, released it. It did really well. He says, "What are you going to do next?" I said, "Well, I'm not going to do a keyboard-based album. I can't without Keith. So I want to find somebody like Keith that makes up these genius parts that I can make songs out of, glue it all together, and that you could identify the guy like Steve Howe was in GTR. And yes, when I played with Steve, like Keith Emerson was, you could always tell his style, his sound. And there's very few guitar players like that. So I said, I don't know even where to start. He called me the next day and said, "What about Ian Crichton?" I went, "Oh my God, that's perfect. You know his style, that plucking and all the stuff he does. It's really cool." I said, "Would he be interested? He's been Saga his whole life, Well, it happened to be that Ian was a fan of the past music and wanted to get together and talk about it. He had always wanted to do a power trio. And that really fit into what I wanted to do. So we started writing songs. And after we got about 8 songs, we're going, wow, this is really clicking. I said, we really need a drummer. But the guy I think that would be great for this, because I worked with him in GTR with Steve Howe, would be Nigel Glockler. And he's solid as a rock. It'd be like having John Bonham and Alan White in the band together, and he doesn't like to be compared to John Bonham because that's a different deal. But that's what I thought of Nigel when I worked with him. He had a feel. As simple as complex as he could play, he had a feel. And I called him. He barely in 2 minutes in the conversation is, "I'm in." So it just came together kind of magically. We all were looking to express ourselves in a different way than other bands. And we also wanted to make sure that we do what we do the way we do it, because it's what we like to do. It's not like you have to fit into that mold that the band has created, Saxon, with Nigel's with, they do that. Ozzy, Whitesnake, with the heavy metal. I mean, it's that box, and they're great, but Nigel was looking for something more than that. A few more drum rolls, maybe a little break on that thing. And it fit. And here we are.
So let's talk a little bit about that magic you guys brought together on your debut album. It was self-titled 6x6, came out in 2022, became a surprise success, would you say?
There was one problem. My genius mind, which is very small, said, let's keep this a secret. It's going. The music's so good. We're so excited. It feels so good about it. Let's not let anybody know anything until the day it's released. First single comes out. And of course, my genius, nobody knew who the hell we were or what we were doing. So it's sort of backfired right at the onset. I don't know what I was thinking. Of course, we want to let it out a little bit and get people talking beyond I wonder what it's going to be like. No, nothing, zero, right? It comes out. People jump on the first single, Yearning to Fly. Reviews are great. The second single does more. The third single gets way up there in the YouTube views. Record companies saying you got to start working on that second album, and it wasn't a surprise to us because we are doing what we want to do, what we like to do. So if it was liked, was the what the icing on the cake, it's the extra part that we hoped for, but it wasn't as important as doing something different from what we'd done and doing it together. I knew Nigel pretty well, but Ian and I became instant friends, really, and songwriting partners. Yeah.
And here we are talking about the second album. It comes out April 26th. It's called Beyond Shadowland. It's being released through Inside Out Music. So the second time around, is, Nigel a little more involved in the songwriting process?
Definitely. In fact, he has two songs that started with him, Titans and what's the other one? I'm trying to Sympathize. We're working on the third one already. So it's like, oh, what are the songs? Plus Isobar's going here, Yeah, he is more involved. Interesting that we felt a lot of pressure because the first album did so well. When we started the second album, our only parameter was, well, let's make it a little heavier. I want it to be bigger on the guitars, more pounding on the drums. Let's go that way. And they all wanted to do that. But then Ian sent me some guitar parts. Oh, that's pretty cool. I can make a song out of those. I started working. I sent it back to him. He called me. He goes, not as good as the first album. Yeah, okay, yeah. Because we had this pressure of people liked our sound. They liked what we did. But our thing was, we're not going to make the same album twice. We're going to move forward in some way. As much as I like Journey, that one album comes out, and next album sounds kind of the same with different songs. That's what it is. And that's fine, but we didn't want to do that. I wrote a little bit more, changed around some, sent it back to him, and he calls, he goes, yeah, it's better, but still not as good. I said, well, of course, Ian. Now you need to work on it, right? And the way we're talking now, we do the songwriting like by Zoom and sending files back and forth. Because honestly, you could be here interviewing me in the room. It'll be no different than you being there, except for I get to see the background, the flag, which I like. Yep. We really have a great relationship. Keith Emerson and I did the same thing on the phone, writing the songs. I said, you need to work on it more now. Okay, I did a second update. So he did it. He sent it back, and I thought, I have an idea. Change it. We have working on two songs. Change them, did this, did that, sent it back. He goes, that's it. This is really happening. And because of that, it sort of lifted that gray cloud of the previous success where, hey, we've got this new thing. We're moving a little bit heavier. And the floodgates open and songs just started coming. That's when Nigel brought a couple in, actually, after we sort of got it rolling. And funny enough, one of our favorites is called Titans. You've heard it. It's a really odd song for the album. Nobody at the record company said a word. Our manager didn't say a word. They obviously don't know what to think about it. But I can't wait for the album to come out and see if people go, yeah, too weird for you guys. Or, hey, that's a cool song. Because I think live, it's going to kick some serious butt. So
I wouldn't use the word weird. It's definitely proggy.
It's different. Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the album's title, Beyond Shadowland. You don't have a song on the album, so there must be some significance to why you titled it this.
And funny enough, there's some songs with titles that have no lyrics of the title in the song either, but you'll see behind me the album covers. My friend Rob Fowler has done the websites for me, all kinds of PR, just all kinds of stuff. Genius level guy. Had a band of his own called Savannah, late 70s, early 80s. Just been a friend a long time, but a great artist, went to school for art. He did the first cover, unbeknownst to us what it was going to be. And when we got it, we loved it. The record company loved it. Management loved it. Everybody loved it. Well, he had the same thing on him. Second album. They loved the first album cover. You got to come up with something because it's not depicting something. It's art. And when he sent it to us, it had the name Beyond Shadowland. And there in the bottom right-hand corner, you see the three of us sort of coming out of the shadows, which happened on the first album. As I explained, not letting any word out before the album came out. Now we're beyond Shadowland. We're going to the next phase. He has us in an airplane, which has some interesting writing numbers on there that no one has actually figured out what it is yet. I'm waiting to hear someone who figures that out. Total his idea, total his title. We loved it. And I've already said, so we going to be in a train or a rocket? What's the third album covering? What are you going to do? He doesn't know, just like the songs. They come alive. You're a different person every day. You have different thoughts every year, whatever it is. That the world's different all the time. So we'll see how that develops too. But he's the one that came up with all that.
Why don't we talk about a couple of the songs that have been released ahead of the album? One of them is the Arms of a Word. If you want to talk a little bit about what inspired you to write that one.
Yeah, first of all, you said it right. Everybody goes, Arms of the Word. And I said, no, it's not a religious song. We're not anti-religion, nothing like that. But it's about the clickbait society we're kind of in, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. If you were putting this in print, might say conversation with Robert Berry before he got stabbed. They go, what? Stabbed? What? Oh my. That's clickbait. And then there's nothing about it, me being stabbed yet. I think it's driving us all crazy. It's been definitely, I feel the downfall of everything is the media and the clickbait part of it, where they have to sensationalize things to get people to pay attention. I don't care how big you are, you still need to keep your audience and draw them in. CNN, Fox, NBC, whatever it is, they got to draw them in. And it's been detrimental. And that's a little bit about what that song's about, kind of. I don't analyze them too much because, as Ian likes to say, I like it when your lyrics are kind of psychedelic. That means leave them more open for people to find themselves in it. And hopefully that happens.
Well, at least you didn't tell me to pound sand. Some guys tell me, nah, I'm not telling you what that's about.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, I'm tempted, but no, I'm not going to do that. I'm kind of an open book about things. I say things I shouldn't say. So you might get the FBI might be showing up at your doorstep.
Well, it'll just turn into clickbait and it'll be good for me.
There you go. Yeah. Well, there you hit it right there. It'd be good for me. That's what these corporations say. It's good for us, right? But it's not good for society.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the other song, and hopefully I will pronounce it right. Obi likes.
I love it. Ian and I say it differently. Nigel says it differently. Everybody I talk to, it's the way it looks. It's obliques, right? OBI, but Ian says obliques, and sort of leaves that first I out of it, which we like the best, but that's not really the way it's pronounced when you look at it. So obliques is one of those titles where Ian sent me that nice little acoustic guitar thing. I actually set it aside at first. I said, wow, that's really nice. Well, I don't know what to do with that, And it had that title on it, which is something that he spelled wrong from some cartoon or something, right? He just spelled it wrong. And I'm working on some of these heavier things, and this acoustic piece keeps going through my mind he sent me. And I start writing this because, like I say, we're a different person every day. And right now, I think we're getting ready for maybe people's attitudes and the world to change a little bit, because everybody's kind of going, wait a minute. Right? And you notice that it's like, no matter what political beliefs, whatever you have, they're going, why is this the main thing we're dealing with? There's all kinds of peace and love and all that stuff going on. There's all kinds of prosperity. There's job, there's things we can get back on track here. Why are we letting this happen? This media kind of driven thing. So, obliques is kind of about leaving this world to find that euphoric place. I'll tell you something. It's kind of funny, but he didn't do it for me. Our video guy, I said, this is what it's about. We want to find this place where we're all peaceful, all friendly, everything's getting along again, because the world was always like that when I was growing up. even if you had different viewpoints, we all got along. I said, at the end of it, I want this guy, because he already had made a sequel out of the space guy kind of. I want him to land on some planet, and when he gets there, Mother Teresa's already there, Gandhi's already there, maybe John Lennon, all these people that work toward a peaceful existence, and they're already there. And he's like, oh, they found it before me. Yeah, like it's possible. I finally found it. It was too late. The record company had a deadline. He couldn't do that. But I still see that song with that. We're landing somewhere else. But some people have already found that. They're there. They're right there in the peace, and I don't want to say peace and love and all the hippie kind of thing, but you know what I mean. I mean, it's civil society.
I'd say that, the more, and you've said it a lot, the media driven society. I think the more that you tune that stuff out, you can actually see the good around you. You don't see a lot of that going on immediately around you.
It's so true, and even my wife gets upset sometimes. She's a school teacher, second grade school teacher, and sometimes they'll come on their intercom saying things. She's like, whoa, these kids are 7-year-olds. I don't care what day it is or what you want to celebrate. It's not getting into my classroom now at this age, and she gets upset about it. And I say, you know what? Look around. It's not really anywhere but on the sort of the social media part of thing. Although TV, I guess, is television, social media. I guess it kind of is. It's not really considered Facebook and stuff, but I said, it's okay. Look at your friends and look at, how people are raising their children and stuff. It's okay. Everything's fine. It just, how do we take care of that media? On the other hand, you're a part of the media. You're doing a service to people. You're spreading stuff that makes people happy. You're friendly. You got a great way about you. We don't want to put parameters on that. That's a weird balance to find. I don't know.
We'll get there.
Yeah, I think so.
You guys have another single planned from the album?
Yes, The Mission is the third single, and it's one of my favorites I've ever written lyrically, because it's about getting your life going the way you need to. It's up to you. You can make it happen if you work hard enough, and it's got that kind of positive message in there, and it's waiting there if you seek it. And that almost sounds like a religious thing. It's waiting if you seek it. I will put my hand on your head. But I mean, it seriously is. Anything. I always feel that if I work hard enough, I can make something work out. If I really want it to work out.
And I like with the presentation of the album that you kind of entice people to kind of check out the physical version of the album instead of just streaming. You have, a certain track listing on the CD, but you also have some vinyl extras of instrumentals, but mostly, yes. But you make it enticing for both forms of mediums, which, vinyl's kind of making its way up and CD's kind of making its way down. So it's kind of good for the guys like me that still want to hold on to something.
Well, that's a perfect thing you just said in my mind, because one of the things we lose, even with the social media and all that stuff, is the tactile piece of things, the way we touch it. When we have a record or even a CD collection, even cassettes way back, you got that and you open the booklet. I'm not going to call it an ownership thing, but you're more involved with the blood, sweat, and tears that my band put into writing and recording it, the manufacturing of the record company, all the process down the line that it takes to do that. I think for some way we feel that in some way, especially with vinyl album covers where they're big, and our artist, Rob, does a great job. Our art is really good. And of course, I hired an orchestra in Budapest to do a little medley I put together of the songs. I majored in music in college, so I know how to do this, right? Orchestrated this thing. And they did a fantastic job. It's beautiful. It's on there. There'll be a little video clip of that out soon too. And I just wanted something a little bit different. It was the record company's idea to put instrumental versions of a couple of the songs, get the vocal out of the way, which I thought was kind of cool, because Ian's playing more guitar in this album than he's ever done in his life. It's really good stuff.
And another thing I wanted to mention as far as the physical medium, I think what I've noticed over the years, because I did the big switch from physical medium to streaming, but the streaming rights disappear sometimes, and then full albums are gone or movies are no longer available, and you don't really own it anymore.
Yeah. I think that only happened for Taylor Swift, though, right? She bought all her stuff back. I don't know. Streaming is convenient. It's basically free music for everybody, and it's ruined our income stream. We cannot make a living selling albums anymore. No matter how many, who was it? Peter Frampton that sold millions of the live album once it was streamed millions and millions of them and got a check for like, I don't know, $6,000 or something, you know. It's made it tough. And, you know, to play live is the only way that you can make some money. And that's why ticket prices are so high, because bands don't get anything for the amount of money. I mean, we spent thousands of hours doing this album. I especially mixing it, you know, and writing the songs. And uh, you just can't do that for free for like these young people that need to make a living, that want to be artists. It can't just always be free, or they're going to have to go down to the car wash, get a job, you know, which you have to kind of do anyway. You have to have a job if you're a musician these days, which musician should be your job. It should be your life. And I mean, I played the guy named Greg Kinn. We played a show in a place right next to the arena Tony Bennett was at. He was 90 or something, right? Singing, just fantastic. Music keeps you young. It, you know, keeps the stress down. Everything about it is a universal language. And I met him, and my parents had a big band that played his kind of music. And I said, my parents did the kind of music you sing and you're good for now. And I just can't thank you enough. This life of music has made me kind of a happy and mellow guy. I think I'll live as long as you. And he didn't like the sound of that. Kind of looked at me.
So what does live performances look like for 6x6 in the future?
I can't say the places yet. September, October, we have 3 anchor dates in Europe, a couple in Germany and the Netherlands, talking about a few things here in the U.S. We've been number one, evidently, on the radio in Puerto Rico. Trying to think. I got so much going on, you know. Puerto Rico, we had number one for the last 2 months was Save the Night, the single off the first album that's done so well. And we're like, well, we better get to Puerto Rico then, right? And sure enough, the agent over there, the concert promoter, wants to put us on. The date they're talking about doesn't work out because we're already doing something in the U.S., but I think, you know, it's looking good. We're definitely going to tour. I just want to do a few in Europe, a few in the U.S., a few in Puerto Rico, you know. I mean, we need to spread it out a little bit, and they're working on that now. So we were 5 or 6 months away from doing our first live gigs.
The album's being released by Inside Out Music. How did you end up signing with that label?
It was kind of funny. We got the songs together. We did it because we wanted to. Nigel was the last one on the bus here, and he came out, did the drums, got the thing all ready. Before I had it completely mixed and ready to shop, Ian and the manager, Nick, said, well, we should talk to Thomas over at Inside Out. And Thomas said, I'm full up. I can't sign any more bands. I have all the artists that I can handle. And I think it was Ian that said, let me send you one of the songs. I'm pretty excited about this. And we get a call back right away. I want the band. So even though he had shut the door, he opened it right up. You know, I guess we had a toe in there, you know. And he said, I want the band. It worked out a great deal for us, 3-album deal. He wanted, you know, we said, we're a band. We're not a project. We're a real band. The other bands, you know, Saga, Saxon, my thing, they can all be on the side and do the things they do, but there's plenty of time for us to play and tour and record. So it was just kind of a match made in heaven. It was as easy to do as the 3 of us getting together as bandmates.
The first album had a tie-in with a graphic novel penned by J.C. Baez, The Journey Internal. Kind of brought your lyrics to life in this little story. But the album
Yeah.
itself wasn't a concept, but he somehow found a way to turn it into a concept. Is there a chance that he's returning for a second one to go along with this album?
Yeah. Yeah. On the first one, he contacted me. He says, I really like your music. I want to do a graphic novel with you. I've been working with John Anderson, yes, and some people. I called him back and I said, I got this new thing. We're working on album 6x6. I said, but in the songs are written, we're recording it. He goes, well, let's do a graphic novel. I said, okay. Well, not knowing what he meant, really. He goes, what's the story? I went, story? He go, yeah, there has to be a storyline in the graphic. Oh, I said, give me a week. And I took the songs, looked at it, and I flipped them around order-wise, a couple of them for the album. And the story just came together. And it was kind of a compelling, positive thing. This guy's looking for something, and really it was right there in front of him all the time. He just needed to open up his feelings and treat people kinder, all the stuff we're talking about. So this one, JC says, we're going to do another one, right? You're done, right? Oh, that was great. I want to do it. Let's do it. Okay, what's the story? And the songs weren't really written yet. So part of the problem, those first two songs Ian and I were working on, is I'm trying to think, okay, what's the concept of this graphic novel along with the music and everything else? I put too many parameters on it that have nothing to do with us just wanting to move forward and not do the same album again, move it forward heavier. And I said, you know what? I got to cut this graphic novel loose right now. And JC had to send me some pictures for these characters and stuff. It was great. But I had to cut it loose. And right now, we are still talking about doing it, but because of the tour plans and all that's going on with the release, I probably won't do it till after the album's out. It's too much to think about, because the story, again, has to be better than the first one, or different.
Right.
Yeah.
So Ian on the side, he still working with Saga, and Nigel still working with Saxon. What are you doing on the side when 6x6 is on its downtime?
I showed you my studio a little bit here. It's I can book it way more than I do. I'm here 5 days a week, either working on 6x6 stuff, Alliance Music, which is a band I have on the side, guitar player from Boston, drummer from Sammy Hagar's band. And then like Isobar, great client of mine, third album I'm mixing, do a lot of mixing. I produce a couple bands a year here. Like sort of have the best of everything. It's like the Dave Grohl documentary where you got the Neve console. I have a Neve console just like that. Only it's a third of the size, but I got it. I don't need one that big. I have everything you could ever want in a recording studio, even instrument-wise, because I play a lot of instruments. So, I have a Hammond B3, a real concert grand, all the guitars, all the amps, everything. So it's like I said before, it's my sandbox here that I'm playing in. And sometimes people have me do a whole track for them. Sometimes I'm just mixing, and everything in between. I have a narration client with Cigna Insurance that comes in every week to do dial 1 if you want, push 3, everything. The voice you love to hate. And I have another engineer that works for me here that does some of that stuff. So, since 6 started, I have sort of not done my 3.2 touring band and my local stuff, because I put everything into the 6x6, whatever it takes. I think this is the best band I've ever had. The guys, Keith, Carl, and I got along great, but Keith, was criticized for doing it, so he broke it up. This band, if we were criticized, we wouldn't care, right? These guys they're in it because they like what we're doing, and we're going to stick to it. So I'm pretty dedicated to this, really.
Before I let you go, I want to find out where the name 6x6 came by. I feel like it might be a tie-in to 3 and 3.2, but I'm not a numerologist.
It actually had nothing to do with it. And you think I would have thought about that when we were doing it. A multiple of 3 would be really cool for me. But we had 100 names on a list, and every one of them's taken. And I got to say, we had some raunchy, dirty, nasty names on there. Oh, no one's going to have this. We're sitting around a table. Oh, look at this ass, blah, 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 whatever, And we looked it up, and sure enough, somebody had it. And I had this thought about I wonder what the length of human DNA is. Thinking it's really small, right? The number, hey, what's it going to be in centimeters or some kind of equation? Well, it was 6'6" is what this one article said. I thought, oh, wow, that's it. 6'6", and that's the length of human DNA. I love it. Somebody had it, right? And I thought, we've been through so many names. Why don't we just change it to 6x6? We looked it up, couldn't find it anywhere. Nobody had it. Album comes out, a folk trio or a duo from somewhere sends me a picture, on the Facebook. 6x6 was their name, but they weren't really a signed band or anything. But that's what it was from. 6'6" changed to 6x6 because we're out of names.
They're either taken by bands or by beers.
Yeah, really. Yeah, it's just crazy now that what flies name wise too. So we feel fortunate to have that name. That I will tell you, one of the things that I was working on initially was I like the way the S and the X look, and Saxon has both. Saga has the S, of course. I just like the way it looks, and I thought, let's find something with S's and X's in it. I think that's what led me to the 6'6" to begin with. So there was sort of a little path to get there.
Well, Robert, those are all the questions I have for you today. The new 6x6 album is Beyond Shadowland. It comes out April 26th through Inside Out Music. And I want to thank you for taking the time to speak with me and KNAC.com and telling us more about it.
I enjoyed speaking with you. You have a great way about you. You're very it's not just organized. It's like your whole thing is like it's like a song. It's orchestrated. It's orchestrated in a good way, and I enjoyed that. Thanks for taking the time to think about it before I get on the air. And you could tell the guy, so tell me about your band. Oh, this guy knows nothing about right. He knows. We know what the name is. Oh, that's the name. It's a losing battle right there. That doesn't happen too often, but I do appreciate it when someone is pro like you, and I feel like we've come up with a few things that I probably shouldn't have said, and that's always a good thing.
That's right. So we got our clickbait.
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, there you go.
Well, Robert, it was great to talk to you, and I know I'll see you out there or talk to you again soon.
I appreciate your time, and I hope to speak with you again. Thanks.